This episode is sponsored by Fizz in Linden.
Fizz is our very favorite place to get sodas, coffees, smoothies, energy drinks, and snacks.
Check out Fizz in Linden today for all of your drinking needs.
Hey guys, welcome back to Senior Sessions. I'm your co-host, Ocean Marshall, and we have Courtney Clayson, of course, and today we have Miss Sadler.
Hi, you guys.
So exciting.
I'm so excited to be on the podcast.
So she got us a drink, and it's really yummy. I'm not gonna lie, I already had a sip. Okay, so it's Sprite with a lime wedge, pomegranate, grapefruit, blood orange, and raspberry puree.
Yeah.
So let's take a sip of it.
Let's give it a taste test.
Oh my. That is so good.
That's really good.
Right? I'm all about, it's sweet, it's tart, it's citrusy, you know?
Yes.
It's really got all the levels there.
And you usually get it from So Delicious, right?
There's a So Delicious one that I get that's similar, but this is a riff on it. The other one, the So Delicious one that I have gone before, also has watermelon.
Ooh.
And I don't know that I love it as much with watermelon.
So this one's better.
But I really like all the citrusy things.
This is better.
Actually, yeah, because here's the other thing. Is that at Fizz, can't you get, what am I trying to say? Why can't I think of it? It's the grapefruit flavored soda. What am I saying?
Oh,
Fresca?
Fresca!
No, we don't have Fresca, sadly.
Other Fizzes do have Fresca.
Yeah, not the Fizz in Linden.
That's
So
okay.
Because when you get it with Fresca, it's like extra grapefruity, which I really love.
So
And also, some places don't have pomegranate or blood orange.
Which is
but
so
you know
lame.
what? Fizz does.
Yeah.
So.
Look at her go.
That's true.
Yeah.
Okay, so fun. Okay, our first question is, when and why did you come to Maeser?
Okay. This is my 5th year at Maeser.
Really?
Yeah. So I came when Nolly was Nolly was my 2nd year.
Yeah.
At Maeser.
So the juniors' first year.
Yeah.
Or the juniors' first year.
7th
grade year.
Yeah, the juniors right now were
Yeah.
my first set of 7th graders, and I started teaching 7th grade and 11th grade in AP Stats. So I taught a year and a half. That's weird because I graduated in December.
Okay.
So I had like half a year where I was like teaching part-time and like being an aide part-time in Alpine School District, and then I had my first year teaching there, and then I was looking for a new job, and this is actually a really funny story, a really cool story. So I just like applied at Maeser because I was looking for a job, and what?
Just as you do. You know.
Yeah, right. And then I interviewed like the Monday after everything shut down. So
like in
I
COVID.
came to school. COVID was really new. I didn't have school at my other school that day in person. And, I went into Mrs. Ellis's office, and Mr. Gilbert and Miss Steinhorst were there, and, we talked, but all of us were like, what is going on in the world right now? It was so weird. And, later that week, I was like, I think we're going to be shut down for at least a few weeks, so I was like, I'm going to go to my sister's house. So I, put everything in my car, and I went to my sister's house, and I ended up staying there until, the end of May, because everything shut down. If you're going to be stuck in a house for 2 months, you might as well be with your nieces and nephews, right? Nothing passes the time like a little kid being like, let's go on a scooter ride. Push me
You're like, okay, nothing else to do.
I know, it was so fun. Anyway, so the world was crazy. There was an earthquake, all that stuff. And Mrs. Ellis offered me the job, and then she's like, you can have a week to think about it. And I think I was just anxious about everything because I'm at my sister's house, and I'm like, and Mrs. Ellis was like, what, have you decided? And I was just so anxious, so I didn't think it was the right choice. And so I was like, I better email her back. And I basically said, thanks, but no thanks. And then I went downstairs to make pizza with my niece, and I was sitting there, and I was making pizza dough. And the whole time, I would just, stop. And I was like, oh my gosh, what have I done? It's such a cool school. Those teachers that I met were so nice. Oh my gosh, they have this mission statement, and it seemed great. Mm-hmm. And so I was like, after an hour, I was like, I gotta figure out a way to say, actually, please, can I have the job?
JK.
And I went into
5 minutes later, just kidding.
how do you do that professionally, right?
So awkward.
Yeah, right? So I went into my email to try to figure out how to do it, and it was a draft. It hadn't sent to Mrs. Ellis. How many times in your life do you get to make a choice and live with it? and then be able to like go back. That's like literally what happened.
That is the universe doing something for you.
I know.
That's
so immediately I
crazy.
was like, I would love to join your faculty. And I sent that email because I knew at that point I was like, only for an hour I was already regretting it. So I knew it was the
Like,
right
I had
choice.
to. I have to.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Right? Isn't that
Oh my
crazy?
gosh.
I'm so glad that email
Yeah.
was sent.
For sure.
Yeah, so that's how I decided to work at Maeser.
That's
And then
so
like
cool.
all of like teacher week and everything, like getting ready for the school year, I was like, oh my gosh, I'm so glad that I stayed.
That's so cool.
Mm.
So why did you become a teacher?
Okay. Yeah, that was one of the questions you sent me.
Yeah. Yeah.
When I was like a little kid, I like loved school, so I was like thought about being a teacher. My parents were both educators. My mom was a choir teacher,
Cute.
and my dad was a history teacher, and then he became an administrator. So like, I'm the only. I'm
Kind of
also,
ran in your family a little bit.
yeah. I'm the only teacher in my family as of right now, though.
Well,
I guess my older brother is a professor at a university now, and my older sister is getting into teaching right now. But for a while, it's just me,
cool.
which is funny. But anyway, so I'd always like, and math was always like pretty easy for me. Well, for most of my life it was, and so I'd always like help my friends with it. So I was like, I think I really want to be a math teacher. And then I took BC Calculus as a junior. And at my school, it was kind of like Socratic. So if you took
Really?
BC Calculus, you took 2 periods of math. And we had like block schedules. So on A days, you'd like go and you'd like have lecture, you'd like correct homework, and then you'd have like the lesson. And then on B days, you'd go and you'd like finish anything from the day before and just work on homework.
That's
But
so nice.
you did all of calculus in that 1 year. You did A, B, and BC in 1 year.
That's
so-
rough.
It was intense. But we also had it twice as much as
Right.
a normal math class, right? So we had like
Yeah.
tons of support from the teacher and everything. So it was a really good
That's nice to
program.
kind of like get it done a little bit.
Yeah, it's true.
Like, yeah.
I didn't have math my senior year of high
That's
school.
nice.
I regret not taking AP Stats as a senior in high school because now I teach it, but that's
Yeah,
okay.
That's funny.
Anyway, so it was intense.
Uh-huh.
It was intense. So I was in that class, and they really quickly, as the school year started, they would take anybody out of there that was like, you're not going to make it.
Low-key
Like,
good.
That happened to my mom, actually.
They put them in AP, which is good,
Oh, yeah.
because
Yeah.
like you can still take calculus, just you're not going to do both years in 1 year.
Yeah.
You know?
My mom's high school math teacher, maybe I shouldn't out my mom like this, but my mom took calculus, and the teacher came up to her and was like, I wouldn't even pay for the fee of the test because I know you won't pass it.
Oh my gosh.
And she was like, oh,
Wow.
okay.
I cannot imagine ever saying
That's crazy.
Holy
I feel
crap.
like that's something my Tommy would say, but I don't think he'd actually say that. I feel like he like joke
I
about
feel like he'd
Yeah,
say it, but like
sure.
he wouldn't
it.
actually.
He wouldn't
do
actually mean it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, so it was a tough class. And for the first time in my life, math was hard. Because I bring up till then, it'd been kind of hard. There would be like hard story problems, but like it was fine. And so I was like, oh my gosh, my life is over. Math is hard. You know, I
What
kind
am I
of was
gonna do now?
yeah, right? And especially because it was such an intense program and because they were so selective about who was in that class, most people did really, really well on tests. Like,
Right.
the pass rate was insane, and the amount of 5s that happened was insane. So we would take unit tests, and I would get like 3s and 4s, and I was like, oh my gosh, I'm not getting a 5. I'd be like so sad, even though 3 is passing.
Yeah,
So I'd
so
be
like,
like,
be happy about it. Come on.
My brother was on his mission, and he'd be like, you're in like the hardest math class that high schoolers take, so like cut yourself some slack.
So you were a junior, and
I
like
was a
probably a lot
junior.
of the people in there were seniors.
Lots of
Yeah.
seniors. Anyway, long story short, I kept getting like 3s and 4s.
Mhm.
Then we got to the first like review test, and I was like, I'm not gonna do super good. I was falling asleep during it because I had it after lunch during like the free response. It's fine.
coma.
So, and then we got our tests back, and I was like, instead of being like one of a few people who got 3s and 4s instead of 5, I was like one of a few people who got a 5, and most people got 3s and 4s. Because it was like the first test before we'd started reviewing.
Right.
And I was like, Mr. Taylor, this doesn't even make sense.
Why am I the best person ever? Crazy.
Yeah, it's like, this really doesn't make sense. How could I not get a 5 on any unit test and then get a 5 on the review? He's like, I wasn't surprised. There's 2 reasons. Number 1, you slack on the hard problems on your homework. I'm like, okay, that's fine. That's fair. You're right. And number 2, he said, tests just are not perfect measures of people's understanding. And all year, I thought you understood it better than your test scores reflected. And I was like, really? And I just like started crying. And I felt so good that day. So good that I was like, I really want to be a math teacher right now because I want to help students feel that way.
Yeah, that's so cool.
I actually remember you telling us that in
last
year.
Yeah. So I got a chance to see him a few years ago at an AP teaching conference, and I was like, Mr. Taylor, I'm a math teacher because of you. And then he cried when I told him the story, and I cried, and it was really beautiful. And yeah.
That's so cute.
And there's a lot of times where you don't feel like you're making that kind of difference. But like hopefully, like there's times where I do feel like I'm helping somebody understand something.
Yeah.
Or helping somebody realize they can do math even though it's hard. You know?
Yeah. That's so
so
cool.
Yeah, that's why I'm a math teacher.
Yeah.
Okay, so what college did you go to?
BYU.
And what did you get your degree in?
Math education.
Fun.
Classic.
Yeah. They have a lot of places just have a math department and an education department. You just take classes from both. BYU has its own math education department
that's
and
so
math
cool.
education classes.
That's so cool.
They're so cool. I just happened on it. I like wanted to go to BYU because my sister went there and stuff. And then you know how there's like ranked programs for like accounting or nursing or whatever. No one ranks math education programs
Because no one has it.
Well, some people have it, but also it's not like a career that makes a lot of money
Right.
or is in high demand. So it's not hard to get into the program. It's just not a competitive program. So they're not like, we have the best math education program. But they really do have such a great math education program.
That's so cool.
And it was pure happenstance. But it was amazing.
That's so nice.
That's where I met Miss Wagner.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm.
So did you guys like both go to school together?
Yeah. We had
That's
classes
so
together at BYU.
cute.
That's so
And we got
cool.
hired independently.
And now you guys like share a classroom and everything, and are best
so
friends, I'm sure.
We do hang out a lot, actually.
I actually have no idea.
We seriously hang out a lot. So that's what happened. So I got hired. After making pizza with my niece, I said yes. And Miss Wagner said yes. And then we went to like
Were you guys hired the same year?
same year. They like had a meeting where like Mr. Bundy was leaving and Miss Volpe,
Oh yeah.
they were leaving. And so we came to like department meeting on
love
Zoom because it was pandemic.
Yeah.
And they're like, we have the new math teachers here, just to like meet everybody. And I was like, oh my gosh, is that Michelle Wagner? And I like took out my phone because I was like, maybe I still have her number, and I texted her, and it was so funny and cool. So I got hired at the same time.
And then you have like a buddy going through it with you.
Yeah,
That's
seriously.
so cute.
Especially because it was COVID.
Right.
So you couldn't like hang out with people, but we were already working together. So we hung out every single week on like after school for like one day, just because it was like, we're not increasing our network at all. We're just gonna
Yeah.
it was
so
it was
fun.
so fun.
That's so fun.
I remember Miss Wagner being a new teacher too. I think
Yeah.
like one of her first classes.
Yeah, I was in her
Yours
ninth grade.
Yeah.
Was
I was in her 8th
So
grade.
math one, I think.
was COVID was your 8th grade
7th
year?
grade and
7th grade.
8th grade.
Started 7th
Hybrid.
grade and then hybrid was 8th grade.
Hybrid was
Yeah.
8th grade, yeah. So
Yeah.
you would have had her like the next year.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Unless you were a year ahead. I don't know.
Oh,
She's a year ahead.
Okay, so it would
So
have
she
been
got
like, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I feel like that.
She's a prodigy like that.
Anyways, we asked our Instagram what to ask you.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. We do that with
I should
teachers.
follow you guys on Instagram.
Yeah, you should.
Oh my
At
gosh.
Senior Sessions 25.
Yeah, if you're not following us, go follow us. So someone asked us to ask you what your belly button hiccup trick is.
Oh my gosh, yes! Who said that? Oh my gosh.
With Lindy?
Lindy? Yes, I did this with Lindy like a week ago. Oh my gosh, it's the weirdest thing. Okay, if you have the hiccups, what you have to do to get rid of your hiccups, it's insane how reliable this is. You just like put your hand, you find your belly button, and then you go like 3 fingers above your belly button and you just like press in a little bit, and you just think about that spot, and you like breathe normal, and just think about the spot, and your hiccups just go away.
That is so
I've
weird.
done it. You can ask Colton Skousen I've done it with. I've done it with like multiple people, and like every time. It's because, here's the story. A friend of mine in college, her dad. It was his thing.
Mm.
And it was so reliable that he, like, never hiccuped more than, like, once or twice.
What?
And to the point that he had a mild stroke one time, and the only reason his wife knew something was wrong is because he was hiccuping. That's how reliable it is. Yeah,
the
true
heck?
story. True story.
I
It's
get the
so
hiccups
weird.
like actually probably most days of the week.
Okay. Oh my gosh, try it.
Try it. No, Courtney,
Try it.
you have
Report
to.
back next
I will.
episode.
I will.
I always, like, when I have the hiccups, I'll, like, grab a thing of water, and I, like, drink it upside down. Don't know if it works, actually.
Yeah, I know.
Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't.
Yeah, that's how I feel. But this thing,
Whenever I get the hiccups, I go.
You just go like this?
No, I just mean that I'm like posted up, and then I'm like, and then I just anyways.
does it help?
Breathe? Like, what?
Yeah, I like breathe through it.
That's good. That's good. Keep breathing.
But it low-key is like annoying to do. So
It is. That's right.
Do the
Just put
belly
your
button
hand on
trick.
I'll
there,
try it.
and then you like just think about it, and you just breathe normal.
Yeah.
Sometimes, like, if I'm doing a bunch of things and I can't, like, think about it, then sometimes it won't work for me.
Yeah.
But if I, like, stop and I'm like, okay, just, like, focus for a minute, it really works.
That's crazy.
Interesting.
Okay.
Next. I know, what a weird
The Instagram questions, though, are so
I love my
Are
curse
they?
today. Someone else asked on the Instagram, "What's your beef with Mr. Right?" Which I have no idea.
We don't have beef. He and I pretend to have beef, but we just teach a class together.
So-
Mr. Wright and I have taught classes together twice now.
Oh,
He's
that's
really
so
cool. I
fun.
really like Mr.
What
Wright.
classes do you guys teach together?
We taught Math 3 AP a couple years ago. It was 3 years ago, I think. And then this year, we
Today.
teach quantitative reasoning
Just today.
Oh, fun.
together, second period.
That is
Yeah,
so
we don't have
neat.
beef. I mean, he sucks at cards, but like, just kidding.
Oh, called out.
There is beef.
We're gonna have to have Mr. Right on the podcast to
You
respond to that.
should. No, we play games together. He's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, chill.
Okay, the next question is, who is your favorite stats student?
This year or ever? Or
Ever.
last year?
Last year.
Oh, wow. They're
Ocean
all
be
my favorite
blinking.
stats students.
It's not me.
Oh, you're my favorite stats student in this room.
So true. I've never taken stats actually.
Probably like had
so
taken stats.
That'd be so awkward. Okay. Okay, moving on from the Instagram.
They were getting a little out of hand. We could not ask all of them.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
These were the calm ones. Okay. Why do you love stats?
Why do I love stats?
Because Ocean says that you really love
I
stats.
really love stats. Literally, the other day, this is the nerdiest thing. I was teaching about z-scores and normal distributions, which is like the foundation for like tons of statistics that you do in AP Stats. It was like our first day doing them. This is going to sound ridiculous. And it is. I recognize this.
Okay.
I literally had butterflies, which is stupid. I was like, oh my gosh. I was so excited. I know. It's like literally, it wasn't a lot, but it was a little. I was
The
like,
love
oh
of
my
your
gosh.
life is stats.
That's what I said last year in stats. Do you remember? And Kira, I like told the whole story. Like stats was a boy that I'd met. I'm like, my brother tried to introduce me to them forever ago, and then it took me forever. But then I took one class with them, and I really liked them. But then the next semester, I had another class with them. And that's when I really fell in love. And I told the whole story like it was a boy that I was falling in love with.
that's
And
so
Kira
funny.
was so mad when it was stats instead of a person.
And then I married him. And it's stats. So funny.
hilarious.
That's
really
so funny.
No, I love stats. Why do I love stats? Sorry, we got distracted.
No, that's okay.
Why do I love stats? I think the reason I love stats is because most of it goes back to a few really core principles, and it's just applied in so many different ways. And when you can understand those principles really well, you can, like, the applications, number one, is beautiful to see how many ways it can be applied. And number two, you can understand so many things about the world.
Mm-hmm.
Because finding out information about an entire group, if you can't use statistics, you have to talk to everybody in that group. And that's like so costly and expensive and like annoying to try to do that.
Mm-hmm.
But if you can take a sample and learn about the population from that sample, then that's way less expensive and it's really cool. And that's what you do in stats. You like learn how to use samples to learn about populations.
Nice.
Which is incredible. Because otherwise you just always have to talk to everybody in a whole population. Who wants to do that?
Let's do that. No
Yeah,
one.
right?
No one.
Yeah.
That's so
Okay.
cool.
Next question. So, you have graded AP test before.
I have.
Did you do it this summer?
I did do it this
Yep.
summer.
Okay, so one of our question was, do you have any advice for people taking AP
It's a
tests?
fun
Oh.
summer break.
Okay, one that came up just recently when I was grading AP FRQs is like somebody like wrote over what they'd already written and I could not read the words to save their life. So like if you're writing something down and you like misspell something,
Just cross it out.
yeah, like cross it out and rewrite it. Don't try to like
Right over.
write over it because
Why would they do that?
I think because they're like worried about space or something. I don't know. Also, like make sure that you answer the question that they're asking because sometimes they
Yeah.
ask like, "Is there something?" That's like a yes or no question instead of like how much of a is like should be answered with a number.
Right.
And so like answer the question that they ask.
Yeah.
That's like a big one because students will like forget to say like it's like do you recommend and like if they don't say yes or no anywhere in the answer then you're like
Can't give them credit.
you definitely are not getting full credit.
Yeah.
Oh, that's rough.
Yeah, that is rough, right?
Yeah.
I also have never graded anything that's like English or history, so I don't have any
Yeah.
information there or any advice. But in math things, like show where the numbers are coming from. Don't just like write a number answer. To like show where those numbers are coming from. Even if it's like in stats, there's a lot of fractions that happen. Writing the fraction that gave you the answer that you just wrote out. Really good. That like counts as showing work.
Yeah.
Got you.
Yeah. So like show where those numbers are coming from. Sometimes even like if there's like a table of numbers, even like circling numbers in the table will sometimes count as like showing work.
Interesting.
So yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Awesome. Okay, so you're also in the choir
Oh yeah, I am.
that like a lot of the teachers are in.
Yeah.
But it's like not a school thing.
It's not
So
a school thing though.
Explain your choir.
Okay, so I feel like Mr. Spindler should be here for that.
Yeah,
Because
we
it's
might
his
have to-
choir.
We might have to ask him about that too. But
Yeah, you can. But Mr. Spindler has a nonprofit, interfaith, all sacred music choir. Yeah. And it's really cool. I love it.
Mhm.
I actually took a choir class from Mr. Spindler at BYU.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
Like when you were when you were a student
When
there?
I was a student, he was
What?
in his master's
Teaching?
program. Yeah, he was getting his master's degree.
Wow.
And I was getting my bachelor's degree, and he was teaching a class, and I took it, and we got hired at the same time too.
What?
He always says I was.
Wait, Mr. Spindler just. Oh, sorry. I just thought that Mr. Spindler has been here for
years.
like a long time.
See, that's funny because he always thinks I've been here longer.
Oh, that's funny.
I'm like,
so
no,
fun.
no, we met.
We're literally the same.
We got to the school at the same time.
That's
Yeah.
so crazy. Okay.
Yeah. So when I got to the school, it was during like hybrid, so the choir wasn't really like happening. And so he and I really kind of became friends. Well, on like the first day of teacher week, I was like, I know you. You're Leland Spindler. I took a class from you at BYU. And especially teachers don't get to know their students when there's like 100 people in like a choir. Like they don't know names. So that was fine that he didn't remember me. But I didn't want to go around pretending like I didn't know who he was.
Oh,
I just
nice
wanted
to
be
meet
like-
you.
Yeah, I was like, oh yeah, I took choir from you. And then like sometimes we get like somebody to do flu shots like in October for the teachers. And he and I went and got flu shots together. And so we chatted while we were waiting.
Flu
And we,
shot bonding.
Flu shot bonding. Yeah, that's exactly what happened. So we really kind of became friends there, and he found out that I'd sung in other BYU choirs, like women's chorus that were auditioned. He's like, you should sing for my choir. I was like, you have a choir? And so he invited me So then we did, just that spring, we did like a YouTube series, but then I've been singing in his choir ever since. But then like I joined, and Moser's in it, and Mrs. Gilbert's in it, and Harmon, and Mr. Brookhausen, he's the new math teacher, his wife's in it. And I feel like, Miss Smith's in it. There's a lot of us.
It's a whole club.
Yeah, it's really fun though.
Yeah, that's really
I
cool.
like it.
And you guys went to Europe last year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not everyone in the choir,
But a lot
but a lot of us did, yeah.
That's so cool.
Moser, Spindler, me, Miss Smith, Miss Gilbert. Miss Gilbert and I went to Spain in the first without the choir.
Sick.
It was so fun.
Little duo trip.
Yeah, it was so fun. Madrid, would recommend.
Hey, I'll go to Madrid.
Yeah.
Let's go, Courtney. Let's go to Madrid. Let's go.
Yeah.
That's so cool.
It was great.
Yeah. So Courtney says that you're passionate about budgeting.
Because you've never been my teacher, but you
true.
taught one day for me,
I
and it was about
did.
budgeting. So.
It was about budgeting, yes.
So tell us why you're obsessed with budgeting.
Courtney heard the whole spiel.
Yeah, I did.
Yeah, basically, when I was in college, I was terrible at managing my money. I was living paycheck to paycheck, partially because I was in college, so I had no money. So that was part of it. But also, I would like never really plan how my money was going to work. So I was always just like mental mathing, like, oh, I'll have enough for rent, and then I need to go grocery shopping soon, so it'll be fine. And then if anything unexpected happened, then I'd be like, oh my gosh, what am I going to do? You know? And then especially like, since I wasn't writing any of that down, the mental math would always be changing. I'm like, oh, but wait a second, I forgot about like textbooks are coming up or whatever, you know?
Yeah.
So it was like stressful. It was really stressful, and I basically didn't try to manage my money very much because I was like, I don't have money. Anyway, so it was really stressful. And then I started working, I started getting money, and I was like, oh, this is amazing. Great. And I was still just like doing the mental math, but I had more money than ever before because I got the biggest paycheck of my life up until that point. And I was like, this is great. Like, I can do all the mental math all day, and I'm always going to have money. Excuse me. And so I like offered to pay for dinner for my cousins one day. And then I was like, you know, I should probably like be saving for retirement, and I should probably be like planning ahead for like other things. And I'm like, there's all these other things that I'm like thinking about sometimes, but never make a plan for. Mm-hmm. So I sat down and I started budgeting. And really budgeting, some people think it means like don't spend money, but everyone always has to spend money sometimes.
Yeah.
So like, it's not about not spending money. It's about making a plan so that when you spend money, it doesn't create problems for you. Mm-hmm. So instead of having to do all the mental math, there's like a list, and I like put money towards each of those things. And then when I have to pay those, I know that that's not coming away from my rent money. That's going, like, I've planned money for that, and it's set aside. And so I'm in good shape. I don't have to worry about it. So after I started doing that, I just was like, oh my gosh, I had no idea that I could feel so peaceful about the money in my life. Compared to like when I was in college, it was like such a transformation. Mm-hmm. To this day, I'll just be like, man, I don't have to freak out about my money because I've made a plan and I'm sticking to it. Mm-hmm. And that's amazing. And like, you know, like some budgeting apps are like, oh, you spent 2 extra cents. Oh no. The budgeting system that I use, it's like, okay, just move 2 cents from somewhere that you have extra. Yeah. That's fine. But like make a plan so that you know where your money needs to go and you're not hurting yourself by spending money the way that you are. Anyway, so it just gives me a lot of peace. I love that peace. Mm-hmm. She heard me talking about it for like literally a whole class period.
Yeah, no, it's okay. It's cool. It's real. Budgeting is good for you.
It's true.
It is so good for you.
Yeah. And like you think about it, like financial stress is like, I'm pretty sure it's like the leading cause for divorce.
I think so too.
Yeah. It causes a lot of stress. So if you can get a handle on that, especially like early on while we're teenagers, then like you're gonna be set up for a pretty good life.
Yeah. Well, and now like dating and everything, because I'm not married. If like there's somebody who can't have like frank conversations about money, I'm like,
red flag.
Huge red flag. Like absolute no. Like one time a guy asked to take me to dinner, and he wanted to go to like Tucano's or something, and I was like, I just want to set some expectations. Like, are we gonna split this? Are you intending to pay for me? And I was just like, I just want to be clear about this so that I can like budget my money appropriately and stuff.
Yeah.
He was like mad at me at the day. He's like, that was so rude when you like asked that. And I'm like, was that rude? I was just trying to be clear so that all of us were clear on what was gonna happen.
That's so
here.
like weird to get
It was-
mad at that.
I know,
Yeah.
it was very weird. It was very weird, and I was like, okay, this is not
Like-
going to be a thing.
Yeah.
He said, okay. We will not be coming back to Tucano's. Yeah.
That's
That's how it was.
Yeah.
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 Okay, cool. Do you have a crazy Maeser story?
I was trying to think of one that I should tell. Because I have some, but I don't think I want to tell them on a podcast.
That's okay.
But I thought of one while I was driving here that was really funny.
Okay.
So, I was teaching 7th grade.
Okay, sure.
So this is like 3 years ago. These students, who will remain nameless, are 9th graders now. And one of the students, well, for some reason, they published the MSI groups super early that year. I don't know why.
When do they usually post them?
I feel like they do them like right before finals is when they should do it.
Yeah.
But for
Really?
some reason, they published them like a month before that. It was like in November. So everybody was going around trying to figure out who they should do the snowball with.
Oh,
Like in November.
Girl, that is a spur of the moment thing.
Yeah, that's what I
Especially when you're in
thought.
7th grade, like 2 months. You will not be snowballing with the same person. Let's be realistic. Like,
Right? That's
what?
how I feel. I'm like, oh my gosh, are we really focusing on this right now? So like, it's a big thing. There's so many students being like, I'm gonna do the snowball with this person. It's a dance. It's like one song, you know?
It's not
And
even
only
a
big-
dance.
Yeah. It's,
You don't even need to ask them prior to
That's
the
what I'm saying.
exact
It's
song.
one song.
It's one song.
And it's like 2 months in advance they're planning this. I'm like, oh my gosh, how is this a thing? Okay, it's fine. So I'm like going around trying to help kids learn math, and there's these 2 boys fighting over a girl who they both want to ask, and like one of them had the idea first, but the other one brought it up first, and they both like the same girl. And I'm like, oh my gosh, you guys, work on math right now. We'll do it later. Like, figure it out later. So I go around and help everybody else out, and they're like, and I come back and they're like, okay, actually, we figured out a way to make this fair. I'm like,
Oh my
"What?"
gosh.
And they're like, here's the thing. We're going to do, you have to help us, though. I'm like, okay. They're like, you're going to go over to the girl, and you're not going to tell her anything. You're just going to
Was she in the
ask her.
class?
She was in the class. She's, like, across the
Bruh.
They're, like, arguing about it over
you.
here. I'm like, oh, my heck. Well, luckily, we were, like, working independently, so it was kind of noisy.
Okay.
Okay, so it's kind of noisy, but they're like, okay, here's what we're gonna do. You're gonna go over there without any context. You're gonna ask her heads or tails, and if she
Oh
says,
my god.
like, I know,
That's the dumbest thing.
And I'm like, well, they're like, we've already established, like, I'm heads, he's tails, and whichever one she says is the one that can ask her for the snowball. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I'm doing this. But it's the only way you guys are going to start doing math because you're so distracted by this.
Literally.
So luckily she's like facing the other direction. So I like walk over and I'm like, hey, this is going to sound weird, but I just need to ask you a question. Heads or tails? And I can see them, they're like directly behind her and they're both like, oh my gosh, oh my gosh. And I'm like, oh my god. Okay, why am I doing this? Okay, heads or tails? She's like, what? I'm like, just, if you had to pick one, heads or tails? She's like, heads? And one of the boys
Stop!
oh my god.
The other one is all like crying.
They're like, we should have raised the real corner.
I know, it's like, oh my heck. Okay, so that's how I helped somebody figure out.
Did you ever receive an update?
So a few days later, the girl came to me, and she was like, hey, Miss Sadler, the other day you like asked me heads or tails, and I was like, yeah. She's like, okay, well, I figured out like what was going on, and I'm really glad that I said heads because I actually like that boy too. Oh my gosh!
You are making relationships over here!
Apparently.
Unintentionally.
Jeez. Okay.
That is so
I know.
Wow,
I
well,
was
I
like,
hope it worked out.
what am I doing?
That's so funny.
That sixth period class that year.
This
was really,
is what
really
teaching
fun.
is all about.
Yeah. When they get married, I'll be at their wedding.
Yeah, for sure.
You'll be like, I made this all happen. I asked her heads or tails, and she said heads.
Literally. Fate decided it that day.
It's true.
Yeah.
That's hilarious. I love that.
So silly.
Yeah. Okay, so if you had a teacher that you look up to, either at Maeser or in like your prior life.
Pass
Before
that.
Before
Maeser.
I was Miss Sadler.
Yeah, exactly. Who would you say that is?
That's such a hard question because there's so many amazing teachers that I admire for so many amazing reasons.
Yeah.
Miss Davis is incredible.
Mm-hmm.
She's like incredible at relating to the students, and she's incredible at like holding them accountable still. She's not like just fun with them. She also like really has high expectations, and that is inspiring. Miss Wagner, what a gem. She's like so fun all the time, but she like really is responsive to what her students need all the time. Miss Plot, so organized. Like, I teach math too with her, and like I use her stuff all the time, and I'm just like, I am so glad that you are so on top of your life because it helps me in my life.
On top of my life.
You know, also physics genius. I freaking love Miss Plot. She's so cool. Miss Cannon, like, oh my heck. She's incredible. The way she thinks about things, she's such a deep thinker, so thoughtful, really, really loves her students. I love her. Moser. Like, the activities that she does, like the projects and like the constitutional convention, or like, doesn't she do that as a final? Yeah, like, oh my gosh, that's incredible. I love Moser, and she's so thoughtful and hardworking. I mean, I could go on about so many people. It's hard to like pick one.
Yeah.
Ms. Incredible. Like, I did Stuco with Ms. for a year, and like she's so good at like helping students be the best they can be. And I'm like, holy cow, what am I doing with my life? That's what I feel like all the time.
Inspiring you to become better. It's good.
Yeah, really. There's so many. And I know, of course, I can't make a comprehensive list of all of them, but like, oh my gosh, Miss Goodrich. Right?
Yeah,
I love Miss Goodrich. She's amazing. There's so many. Mr. Harmon. Okay? Dowdle.
Girl just starts naming every single teacher
I
you
know.
can think of.
That's like literally how I feel though. Kreitzer, you know? It's
Yeah.
amazing.
For sure.
There's amazing ones. Gilbert, Simmons.
That totally makes sense.
Yeah.
We have a lot of really good teachers at Maeser.
We
true.
do.
Honestly.
We really
Yeah.
do.
There's
Mr.
like no
Kendall.
bad teachers at Maeser.
It still keeps going. Okay.
I know. There's so many great teachers.
Okay. What's the number one lesson you've learned while being a teacher? If you had to pick.
Tomorrow's like another day.
Mm-hmm.
That is something that's hard. I think my first year teaching, I had a lot of really hard struggles. Just like learning who you are as a teacher is really hard. And so, yeah, sometimes you feel like because things have gone a certain way that like there's no hope of like coming. But like if you're feeling like you aren't able to change how you're doing things, like take that day, change something, make some sort of change. You're like, I feel like I'm not having my students up at the board enough. Like, do it today. You don't have to wait for next year to start doing something.
Yeah.
Because sometimes it feels like, oh, I've been doing this for so long this way that I need to like make a big change, and that it has to be
Like a big
monumental,
deal.
you know, a big deal, instead of just being like, okay, wait a second, okay, we're not doing enough group work. Okay, today we're gonna do some group work, and I don't have to make like a 5-point plan to try to do something different in my classroom. I can try something different. I can ask more questions. I can try to have somebody up on the board that I don't usually have. So just like let today like make a little change today instead of like waiting.
Yeah, for sure.
Cool.
Yeah.
I love that.
I like that.
The other thing that I would say is just because it's hard doesn't mean you're bad at it. And I learned that
That's
before
kind of a
being
bar.
a teacher, but it's real.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I had to tell myself, like, calculus is the first time math was hard, but if you think BC calculus is hard, wait till you prove that calculus exists and works. in like college math classes where you're just writing proofs all the time. It is so hard, and I failed some math classes, and I was like,
do you have to take those really hard ones for like your generals, or was that just?
No, that's because I was in math education. You're like, I don't want to prove calculus.
I'm like, what am I getting myself into? I'm so bad at math.
But in like any major, there's gonna be hard classes though, right?
Yeah, that's true.
And just because it's hard doesn't mean you're bad at it. You're not stupid. It's just complicated.
Yeah.
Right.
And because like it's hard, that means that you're growing.
Yeah.
That means that you're getting better.
Yeah.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So like that is something that like. Just because it's hard does not mean you're bad at it. Like keep working, keep trying. You can learn this. You can figure it out.
For sure.
Yeah.
I love that. Okay, well, thanks so much for coming on the podcast.
You're welcome.
And thanks you guys so much for listening. See you guys next time. Bye.
Thanks for listening to this episode of Senior Sessions.
Remember to get your favorite drink at Fizz in Linden today.